like the same process. They passed the bill and then told the bureaucrats fill in the blanks, which they did. And actually, when we sent our representative, who was Supervisor Delbar, over to the meeting, before they had the hearing of the final vote on it, they'd already print up the information that told everybody that the air quality rules had passed. It was a done deal. So to send people or representative to those meetings, truthfully, it sounds good and it's sexy, but they've already made the decision. They're going to implement it. So without threat of litigation, I don't think they're going to take anybody serious. So we're little old Mendocino County, but we may be little old Mendocino County, but it's probably going to affect us as much or more as any other of the 58 counties in the state. So we're going to have to. We just can't cave in. We're kind of up against the wall here. We got to stand for something. Between the air quality rules and this, it's going to be, besides whatever else the state has done to us, it's going to be devastating. And frankly, we aren't getting the support from our local state representatives on this issue. And I think it'll show out to the vote of this AB 8885 that our state representatives, I'm sure, voted for it back 10 years ago. So, we're going to have to take them on ourselves. And I think we have a qualified attorney staff in this county to do it. But outside of that, I don't think, frankly, I can't get excited about sending any letter, because I really believe that the state, these bureaucrats have made up their mind they're going to impose this, and they don't give a damn what Mendocino County says. So we're going to have to step it up a level. Supervisor Brown.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I do think a letter has to be sent. You have to enter it into the record, but I would also recommend that our chair personally go and testify if we cannot get a local hearing here. And I think it's very important to have direct conversation with our elected state officials. On the threatened litigation, perhaps county council can inquire of other county councils from rural counties as to what they're doing, if they're interested in joining us and looking into perhaps litigation.
I certainly support the motion, but we just hired a new lady for legislative affairs, and she has close connections with our state representatives. And if we could direct the CEO's office to make this a top issue, and whether it's a letter, a threat of litigation letter from county council, and maybe if we could report back here next week or two on a really a tough game plan here, because I support just sending this letter from the HHSA, but that's kind of like a soft touch. We're gonna have to really work on this one. We got to do a lot more than just send the letter and they're going to do what they want to do. We got to really stand tough on this one, because it's so important. So with that maker of the motion, I support this motion, but if we could support a directive to the CEO's office to come back with I think the CEO's office heard the views of all the board members here with a stronger game plan, and come back with a course of action here on this, because a letter is all right for today, but we need to take stronger action here. You want to talk about? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with your comments as well as Supervisor Brown's comments, and I think we should take this up aggressively with our state legislators who may have voted for a concept 8 years ago, but I don't think they would have had any idea how draconian this would be. So I think we do need to try and enlist their support. I also think with regard to the takings, if we are taking lots that are currently buildable and rendering them unbuildable, to me that is a taking, because those people are being denied any economic return on their property. So certainly county council can look into that more, but I support all of your comments.
Well, another issue on that, look at the difference in assessed evaluation from a buildable lot to a non-buildable lot. I mean, so we're going to have hundreds of people come in immediately and want their assessment. So it's a real cost to not only the state too. They wonder why they're broke. They stab themselves in the back and then they wonder why their back's hurting. But anyway, Supervisor Brown.
Thank you. it may come back, but there's a lot of work in between. I don't know if we want to give direction to our chair or another supervisor to work on this with the CEO's office, because we will not have a meeting next Tuesday, and absolutely getting down to the wire. So I suggest we look at it more closely at a supervisor working with the issue as well.
Well, certainly we can vote on this motion here today on
Okay.
sending the HHSI's in the letter. But what I would like to see is if, before our next meeting, if Tom could meet with our legislative advocate, both our legislative advocate and the state, Don Peterson over there, and maybe with county council to come up with a stronger, I think that you've got the direction of what we need is a stronger letter from county council about maybe the questions about the takings and the unfunded mandates, even a hint of a litigation in there. I think if the board would support that and just give direction to come back with a kind of a game plan at our next meeting, Tom, under legislative reports, because this is a real important legislative issue here.
Sure, we'll bring it back to you under our ledger report, and we'll also prepare, if it's appropriate, the board feels for the 28th general government. That's normally when we would deal with ledge activities. We can also bring it before them after the board meeting. But we would like to encourage you to have the board chair send out a signature. And this week, we can prepare a letter for you opposing it, in addition to the comments that we're asking HHS agency to make on the technical aspects. But our office, working with county council, can draft a letter for the board chair to submit ahead of time if that's appropriate.
Well, and I will show up in person if need be at that meeting. I might get out of control, but I'd be willing to go. Supervisor Count or Colfax?
I agree with the strongest representation we can possibly make on this particular item. I'm a little uncomfortable with the idea here that, okay, we'll do the legislative route. We'll go and look at it and talk to our representatives here. Not because we have to do that, because that's what we're left with right now. But what we need to do is look at beyond the legislative route that's coming at us. These things are coming at us not because of what was passed 8 years ago, but because the bureaucracy, its quasi-technical people, or its so-called or self-styled technical people, have decided this one-size-fits-all process goes into effect, and then we, in the 10th hour, the 11th hour, the 12th hour, are compelled to respond, and it's too late by the time we get to it, all things being taken into account. I would like to see here that we take this to our state organization. We pay substantial dues to the state organization, where they monitor not only what bills are out there, but what are the administrative processes that are in place, and the state of the administrative management of the bills that we have either agreed should be passed or shouldn't be passed. And that's where we have to have greater oversight, because we're going to get these things zipping at us over the next 20 years as California digs itself out of the bind that it's in, and these regulations are coming at us without any kind of legislative oversight. Once it's turned over to the rules and the bureaucratic imperatives of a particular piece of legislation, we don't see it, we don't deal with it, we don't even know it's coming, except we know there's a number called AB 885, and when it comes to us, we discover that, guess what? It's too late. The agencies that are supposed to be protecting us are in fact doing something quite different, and that is they're implementing something that is designed to hurt us in the rural, particularly in the rural areas. So I think we need to look at this from a more comprehensive perspective, so that three